Welcome to Madrasa Mumtia's free Nahw and Sorfu online class. And tonight we are on our class 104 and in Nahw. And our topic for today is خبر المبتدأ حين يكون جملة أو شبه جملة. That is the predicate of the subject, that's the subject predicate, when it is a sentence, when it's a clause or a phrase. So when we say jumla, we mean a jumla to mufida, that is a complete sentence that makes sense. And when we say shibhu jumla, is something that looks like a sentence but it does not make complete sense on its own. So and that is what we call shibhu jumla. So in previous lessons we've treated what we call the khabarul mufrad. That is when a khabar, a predicate that is a single word. So that is what we've been using all through since the previous topics. However, the khabar is not always a single word. Sometimes it can be an entire sentence, a jumla, or a shibhu jumla that looks like a sentence but it is not complete. That is a phrase. So there are cases when we would have our khabar in those formats, and that is what we want to treat in today's lesson, inshallah. So we start from the qaida as usual. So what does our principle tell us? Our principle says kama yakunu khabarul mubtada'i mufradan yakuna jumlatan fi'liyatan aw jumlatan ismiyya aw shibha jumla. That the same way we can have our khabar, that it can be a mufrad, a single word, it can also yakunu jumlatan fi'liyya, it can also be a jumla to fi'liyya, a sentence that is a sentence, a verbal sentence, a sentence that starts with a verb, or jumlatan ismiyya, or a sentence that is that starts with a noun, or shibha jumla, or a phrase which is an incomplete sentence, that is zorfan or jarun or majrurun. So and shibhu jumla is usually either comes with a zorf, or it can be a jaru or majrur. So and you can look at this, we've summarized this in a table or in a chart for us, so you can look at the different types of khabar that we can have. And wa'il khabar, it can be a mufrad. So we are starting from a mufrad here. So we look at when a khabar is a mufrad, what do we mean? When we say mufrad, when we say khabarun mufrad, what we mean is that this khabar is a single word, it is a pure noun. So we can look, so it is explained here that a khabar termed as mufrad means that a single word, even if it is more than one entity, even if it is a plural, it is still a khabarun mufrad. What we mean by mufrad is the number of words that we use, not the number of people it is referring to. Like when we say azaiduna tujarun, the zaids, all the zaids, they are traders. The zaids are traders. So that is a single. We see that tujar is a single word, even though it is plural. So you can see other examples of khabar mufrad. Zaidun jalisun, zaid is sitting. So we can see that our khabar, our mubtada, is blue. So if you look at this chart here, okay, I think I should have explained the color coding first. So we use the color coding here to show. So on the names of the classifications, we used black, and for the mubtada they are in blue and the khabar are in red. So you can see that our mubtada here, zaid jalis, now khabar is in red here. You see that is a single word, that is the khabarun mufrad. And we have ar-rijalu fuqara'u, the men are poor. So fuqara'u is also our khabar here, even though it is a plural word, but it is a single word. So when we say khabarun mufrad, it means the khabar is formed with a single word as opposed to being formed with an entire sentence. So another type of khabar we would come across is jumlatun fi'liyya. Jumlatun fi'liyya, which is a verbal sentence. So when a sentence starts with a verb, we've treated before that we have two types of jumla in Arabiyya. Jumlatun fi'liyya, a sentence that starts with a verb, or jumlatun ismiyya, a sentence that starts with an ismu, that starts with a noun. So Jumlatun fi'liya, an example is Zaidun jalasa. Zaidun jalasa. So when we are talking about Jumlatul fi'liya, when it comes to khabar, it doesn't have to be more than one word. It just has to be a sentence that makes a complete sense. And when we say jalasa, he sat, we can see that the jalasa on its own actually that just a single verb without any addition, we can also call it Jumlatun fi'liya. So when it falls into position of a khabar, and we'll see that our khabar is a verb, even if it is a single verb and it doesn't have anything following it, it is a Jumlatun fi'liya. So we can see that if we turn, so in this case we will now see that if we turn our fi'l and fa'il around, then we have mubtada with a Jumlatun fi'liya as khabar. If you can remember very well, when we treated the topic of fi'l and fa'il, we explained that jalasa zaidun, zaid is a fa'il because it comes after the verb. A fa'il can only come after the verb. Once we turn jalasa zaidun to zaidun jalasa, and we now have our noun first, in that case zaid is no longer the fa'il, zaid is now the mubtada. So we will now be asking, what is our khabar? So in this case, our khabar is the Jumlatun fi'liya, which is jalasa. So that is our khabar. So I hope this is clear, that when we have a Jumlatun fi'liya as khabar, it would we can have a Jumlatun fi'liya as khabar, and when we turn a fi'l and fa'il around, we would usually have the fi'l becomes a Jumlatun fi'liya. So we can see that Zaid is now the beginning of the sentence, and Zaid is our mubtada, and jalasa ala al-kursiyi is a Jumlatun fi'liya, that is our khabar. Also we have anta jalasta ala al-kursiyi. So anta is our mubtada, we know it is ma'rifa. So anta is a domir, and so it is ma'rifa, and it is our mubtada, and our khabar is jalasta ala al-kursiyi. So the entire Jumlatun fi'liya, jalasta ala al-kursiyi, is our khabar. And finally we have an-nisa'u jalasna ala al-kursiyi. The women sat on the chair. So an-nisa'u is also our mubtada, you can see, and our khabar is the Jumlatun fi'liya, jalasna ala al-kursiyi. So we've treated two types of khabar that we can have, which can be a khabarun mufrad, a single word, or a Jumlatun fi'liya, a verbal sentence. So the third type of khabar that we can have is Jumlatun ismiya. So a jumla, that is a sentence that starts with an ismu. So Jumlatun ismiya can also be a khabar. For example, we have al-waladu haqibatuhu kabiro. Al-waladu haqibatuhu kabiro. The boy, his bag is big. The boy, his bag is big. So what is our mubtada here? Our mubtada, like we said, we've colored our mubtada in blue. Al-waladu is the mubtada of this sentence, and haqibatuhu kabiro, that entire sentence, you can see that haqibatuhu kabiro is a sentence on its own. His bag is big, Jumlatun ismiya. So it's a Jumlatun ismiya because it starts with an ismu. So it's also a sentence on its own. But however, this entire sentence is the khabar to al-waladu. I hope you are getting that. So the mubtada is al-waladu, and the khabar is this whole sentence, haqibatuhu kabiro. So of course, if we look at this sentence, we have another mubtada and khabar there. We can see kitab, just like we have Zaidun kitabuhu jamil. We've labeled it here that, of course, inside this Jumlatul ismiya, we also have another mubtada and khabar. So kitab is a mubtada because it is a mudaf, so it is ma'rifa, and jamil is the khabar to kitab. So kitab is a mubtada, and jamil is the khabar to kitab, and kitabuhu jamil is a Jumlatun ismiya. So this entire Jumlatun ismiya is now also the khabar to Zaid. because we are now, this is now describing Zaid, that Zaidun kitabuhu jamil, that Zaid's book is big, Zaid's book is beautiful, Zaid's book is beautiful. So we have our explanation. So we have also explained it here that when a khabar is a jumla to ismiya, then the whole sentence construction is a mubtada and khabar, and this jumla to ismiya, which is a khabar, also has its own mubtada and khabar. Now another important note that we must have is that when we have a jumla, then there must always be a, that when we have a jumla to ismiya as a khabar, there must be a domir, there must be a pronoun inside that jumla to the ismiya that is referring back to the original mubtada of the entire construction. That's what we call domirul aid. So we can look at it here. This is what we have used an arrow to mark it, that this who is referring to al-walad. So this how domir is referring back to Zaid in this case. Here it is referring to al-walad. So when we have a jumla to ismiya, which is a khabar to a mubtada, there must be a domir inside that jumla to the ismiya that is pointing us back to al-walad. We don't have that problem in jumla to fi'liya because automatically the verb already holds a domir that is pointing us back to the mubtada. But for jumla to ismiya, we need to include our domir that will point us back to the mubtada of the entire sentence. So jumla to ismiya can also, an entire sentence can also be a khabar, that is a jumla to ismiya. So, and finally the last part we'll have, last type of khabar we are going to look at is shibhul jumla. That is literally means something that literally means a look-alike of a jumla, but it is not a complete sentence. So we can just say a phrase in English when we see a sentence that does not make complete sense standing on its own. So for example, we have, and these are of two types. The first type is a zorf, and we treated zorf recently in a previous lesson on maf'ul fihi, which a zorf tells us place or time. So we have al-kurratu fawqa al-maktabati, the ball is above the desk. So al-kurratu fawqa al-maktabati, the ball is above the desk. Also the library, the ball is above the library. Maktab is desk, maktabati is library. So the al-kurratu fawqa al-maktabati, the ball is above the library. So we can see that our mubtada is al-kurratu, the ball, but our khabar is this entire shibhu jumla, which is not a complete sentence. That is fawqa. Our khabar is just the zorf. So I think this is a mistake. This should not be in the red. Just the fawqa is our khabar. So, and we've explained it here that when we have zorf, only the zorf is the khabar. So when we have zaidun, for example, zaidun fawqa al-kursiy, only the fawqa is the khabar. So al-kurratu fawqa al-maktabati, the ball is above the library. So only fawqa is the khabar in this case. And we also have zaidun khalf al-babi, the khabar is just the zorf. However, when we have jaru and majrur, both the jaru and majrur are the entire shibhu jumla is the khabar. So for example, we have zaidun ala al-kursi. So when we have, zaid is above, zaid is on the chair. So ala al-kursi is our khabar. And anasun fil bayti, Anas is the mubtada, and fil bayti is our khabar. Anas is in the house. So we should also remember that when we have shibhu jumla with zorf, the zorf is the khabar, but the word the mudaf related to the zorf is not part of the khabar. When we have jaru and majrur, this shibhu jumla ala al-kursi or fil bayti in this case are the entire khabar. So those are the anwa'ul khabar that we may have. Maybe a single word, a khabarun mufrad, maybe a jumlatun fi'aliyya, maybe a jumlatun ismiyya, or shibhul jumla. So I think at this point we can go back into our book and we can briefly look at our example of these types of khabar. So we've treated khabar al-mufrad in the other topics of mubtada wal khabar. So these examples here just talk about the other ones, the jumalun and the shibhul jumla. So we have al-harakatu to qawwil idolat. The exercising strengthens the muscles. So our al-harakatu is our mubtada here, and our khabar is to qawwil idolat. So that's jumlatul fi'liyya is our khabar. And nidhafatu tunashitu al-jasam. Cleanliness energizes the body. So our mubtada is an nidhafa, but our khabar is the jumlatul fi'liyya tunashitu al-jasam. So anta ata'ta al-amri, our mubtada is anta, and our khabar is the jumlatul fi'liyya ata'ta al-amri, ata'ta al-amru. As-sulahfatu zahafat. As-sulahfat means the turtle. So the turtle crowed. So our mubtada is as-sulahfat, but our khabar is this jumla to fi'liyya. Like we explained before, that a single fi'l is enough to be a jumla to fi'liyya, because we can just say it's crowed. Zahafat means it's crowed, and it makes sense on its own. So it is a jumla to fi'liyya, and so our khabar in this case is jumla to fi'liyya. So now let's look at the second types of example. We have jumla to ismiyya as our khabar. We have al-muhadhabu asdiqa'uhu kathirun. Al-muhadhabu, the civilized person, asdiqa'uhu kathirun, his friends are many. So we can see, like we explained, that there must be a domir, a pronoun that points us back to the mubtada, and so we can see that this who here is referring to al-muhadhab. So that is the civilized person, his friends are many, and our khabar in this case is asdiqa'uhu kathirun. It is the jumla to ismiyya, and we know jumla to ismiyya is composed of another mubtada and another khabar, and the second mubtada is asdiqa, and its own khabar is the khabar mufrad, which is kathirun. So another jumla to ismiyya working as khabar, we have it here, al-misbahu daw'uhu shadidun. The lamp, its light is strong. So we can see that daw'uhu shadidun is a jumla to ismiyya, and is our khabar in this case. Al-bintu jamaluha sharaf. The girl, her beauty is honor. Her beauty is honor or dignity. So jamaluha. So we can see we also have a domir here that is pointing us back to al-bintu, and because bintu is feminine, our domir to is feminine. We have her because this is talking about bintu. At-tujaru shi'aruhum as-sidiku. The merchants or the traders, their motto is truthfulness. So we can see in this case our domir that is pointing back is now plural, because at-tujaru is a jamu, is a plural. So we have the same thing. So we have this here, our mubtada is at-tujaru, and our khabar is the jumla to ismiyya shi'aruhum as-sidiku. So and then we now have the other set of that is the shibu jumla, and we said the shibu jumla of two types, which is the jaru wa majrur and the zarf. So in the case of jaru wa majrur, we have al-kitabu fil kimatri. So we know our harf jari is what? Fi. So al-kitabu fil kimatri. The book is in Kimatri. Kimatri is a town in Morocco. So al-kitabu fil kimatri. The book is in Kimatri. So and our mubtada is al-kitabu, and our khabar is fil kimatri. Fil kimatri is our khabar. The entire jaru wa majrur is our khabar. As-sarju ala al-farsi. The saddle is on the horse. The saddle is on the horse, and that is so our jumla to ismiyya is, our mubtada is as-sarju, and our khabar is ala al-farsi, which is the jaru wa majrur. Then we have al-mataru min as-sahab. The rain is from the clouds. So al-mataru is our jumla to ismiyya, is our mubtada, and min as-sahabi is our khabar. النجاة في الصدق. النجاة is our مبتدأ and في الصدق is our خبر in this case, which is a شبه جملة جار ومجرور. And in the other hand we have our ظروف here, our ظرف. So القنطرة فوق النيل. The ark is above the Nile. So فوق is our خبر in this case, which is a ظرف. المتنزه أمام البيت. المتنزه أمام البيت. The park is in front of the house. So المنزه is our المتنزه is our مبتدأ and أمام is our خبر. الساعة تحت الوسادة. The clock, or perhaps the wristwatch, the timepiece, تحت الوسادة is under the pillow. So تحت is our the خبر in this case. And finally we have الراحة بعد التعب. Rest is after tiredness. The rest is after tiredness. So الراحة is the مبتدأ and بعد is the خبر. So remember that our ظروف, they are ism. So and our خبر would be the ظرف. So for شبه جملة, when we have a ظرف, our خبر is the ظرف. But when we have a jar wa majrur, the entire jar wa majrur is our khabar. And we have a jumlatun ismiya, which can be the khabar, and our jumlatun ismiya may just be a single, our jumlatun fi'liya may just be a single fi'l. And also we have our jumlatun ismiya, which can be a khabar, and our jumlatun ismiya, we must have a domir that is pointing us back to the mubtada. So that brings us to the end of this lesson in خبر المبتدأ حين يكون جملة أو شبه جملة, when our خبر المبتدأ, which is our subject predicate, is either a jumla, a sentence, or a shibhul jumla. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. We Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps us to understand this better than it has been explained, and grant us beneficial knowledge. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.